In Old World Appalachia, schools didn't always close for snow. In early Appalachian communities, before we had the public school system, snow days looked very different from what we recognize today. Schools would often remain open even during winter weather. Walking to school was the common way that kids got to school, and sometimes kids had to travel a really long distance on foot, often along dirt roads and narrow paths to get to school. So, when the snow was falling and it was deep and ice and conditions were unsafe, kids just would stop going to school. Teachers expected it. No one had to announce closures or do anything special. It was just how people lived back then. There were no phone calls, there were no alerts, there were no broadcasts. Families had the ability to judge the conditions themselves and decide what they would do. So parents would look outside, check the roads, decide if it was safe or not, and they would send their kids on their way if it was safe. If a child couldn't get there, then they just stayed home, and it was just understood that's how things were. Back in certain time periods, snow days weren't always exciting and carefree because people were trying to survive. They didn't have electricity, they didn't have electric heaters, they had basic wood heat in a fireplace, or maybe they had a wood stove. Winter meant a lot more work to survive. So children would help with winter chores, they would feed animals, then they would stay inside near the fire. It was a part of the rhythm of daily life in the wintertime that things slowed down and people stayed closer to home. Teachers adjusted rather than resisted. Lessons picked up when students returned. Absences during snow were normal, not punished. Education moved with the seasons instead of trying to override it. And in many ways, I wish the school systems would return to that. In December, they let out for a few weeks for winter break, and then they go back at the beginning of January. But January is usually when we get a lot of snow and really cold conditions. Usually January and February are the worst months. So it would be nice if schools would kind of adjust their schedules based on the seasons here because there's a lot of school closures and now we have like remote learning days, which is great. They didn't always used to do that. And they cancel school quite a bit or they put the kids on remote learning days. But it just makes sense that they could do a better job at scheduling school based on the conditions of winter here because it's very cold and treacherous to drive on some of these roads when it's winter time.